Hello, hello. This is Lauren Sweeney, and I am our Vice President here at Rise Up For You, and you are watching Rise Up For You TV. So we are live on Instagram, we are live on LinkedIn, and we're very excited that you are here today. So give us a shout if you can hear us. Also, if you have questions on Instagram, you can put them in the comments in the live. If you end up watching the recording, you are welcome to DM us as well. If you're on LinkedIn, you can also put comments and I can see them and I will answer your questions as best I can today. Well, welcome to Rise Up For You TV. Today, we are talking about critical conversations, the new rules of communication. $1.2 trillion is lost annually due to a lack of communication, which creates poor productivity in our workforce. This is an important fact, and we're going to cover what we can do about it. First, let me tell you why I'm qualified to talk with you today. Our team at Rise Up For You works with thousands of individuals and organizations around the globe every year. We see poor communication challenges. We also see leaders that are not effectively able to manage their direct reports and direct reports that have a very hard time managing up. We work with nonprofits that have challenges amongst their board of directors. We also work with very large organizations where there is a lack of clear, concise, and direct communication. We survey thousands of individuals that we work with, and we talk about their emotional intelligence, their confidence, and their 6 pillars to success. And based on our research, we have found that communication is a major focus. In fact, we have an entire course about it. Let's dive into today's topic. Besides the fact that I already gave you about the $1.2 trillion that's lost, I also want to let you know another staggering statistic. $12,506 is the average that your company is losing. This is not a made-up statistic, my friends. This is a real statistic that according to research, according to Gallup, $12,506 is lost in your company because of employees' lack of communication. That is a gigantic number. And that doesn't include all of the employee turnover numbers and that's just lost productivity, my friends. Welcome. If you're just joining us, we are live on Instagram and live on LinkedIn, and I am Lauren Sweeney, our Executive Vice President here at Rise Up For You. You're on Rise Up For You TV. Let's talk about communication. So I have a few things that I want to share with you, and they're from our brand new Amazon best-selling book on emotional intelligence. You can see some of my other favorite books behind me, including our Rise Up For You book. I have It's the Manager, love that one by Gallup. I have Crucial Conversations, and I have Radical Candor. These are important books on the topic of communication. And I also want to let you know, if you're just joining us, that at Rise Up For You, we do have a global community as part of our membership. And this very Wednesday, in 2 days, we are going to be talking about communication. We're doing an in-depth training on it just for our members. So if you're listening today and you want more of what you're hearing, head over to riseupforyou.com and become a member today. Well, inside of our communication chapter, we have so many different things on communication and conflict. Today's session, though, is just about communication. And I want to share with you a couple of things that are really, really helpful as we're building clear, concise, and confident communication. And the first one is that we need to prepare. It's important that we prepare for a meeting that we're going to have to influence a board of directors. Maybe we're going to influence a stakeholder, our team members. Maybe we're going to manage up. When we prepare for our meetings, it seems simple, but we are able to perhaps write out the points. We're able to manage our triggers ahead of time. We are able to focus and figure out what is going to be most important for us. That's the first thing. It's caring enough to prepare. If we care enough to prepare for our communication, we're also able to slow down. And this is something that for sure I work on myself. Slowing down enough to reread our written communication, slowing down enough to pay attention to the nonverbal cues in our audience whenever we're speaking in a room, slowing down enough and caring to prepare when we're going virtual. Your energy matters. When we prepare, you're better able to be freed up to have your energy focus on those that are in the room with you. Number 2, reflect on the purpose of the meeting. Death by Meeting is another great book. And we don't want our communication to fall into that category. It's really important that we let the audience know the purpose. For example, today I let you know we're going to talk about effective communication. When you let the audience know, welcome to this meeting today. I know we have 45 minutes. My goal is that we cover X, Y, and Z. Does anybody in the meeting have anything else they would like to cover? Set up expectations on the front end. We also do this when we do team training. For example, we might say, welcome to our training today on emotional intelligence. We are going to be talking to you today for 75 minutes. The expectation is that our videos are on, etc. So when you let people know the expectations on the front end, it can go a long way to a two-way sense of communication. Next, we want to establish expectations for the meeting and agreements. This is different than setting up the meeting for success. It's in line with that, but it comes next. So expectations might look like, in today's meeting, these are the things that we are covering. As I mentioned, you want to get their buy-in. So the expectations are finding out, what do they expect to get from the meeting? So they might expect to be getting a totally different conversation. What do they want to get out of the meeting? In fact, 2 weeks ago, I did an event with about 42 CEOs. They were executives from all different businesses. And I started by sharing what I was going to be covering and how long we were going to spend, and that it was going to be interactive and very exciting. And then I asked them, what do you hope to get out of today? Why did you come to this event today? And after we went around the room and they shared why they came and what they hoped to get out of it, I ended up tossing out almost all of my curriculum. I ended up changing what I was going to cover, because what I wanted to cover, what I thought they needed, was completely different from what they wanted to cover. And sometimes that happens. So we are on number 3 for setting up clear communication, and that is establishing the audience's expectations whenever possible. Now, your audience might be your team, it might be a board, it might be a keynote speech, it might be your customers. But finding out, Mr. Jones, I came here to take photos for you today. Let's say you have a photography business, and my expectation is we're going to spend an hour together. These are the shots I'm going to take. I just want to check in. Is that aligned with what your expectations of today was going to be like? Misalignment in expectations is a huge cause for communication challenges, which is why you can see that lack of communication leads to poor performance. It leads to a lack of productivity, because perhaps now you have to go redo the board meeting. You have to go redo the conversation or the work with your client. Now, the other side of setting up clear expectations is setting up agreements. So what do we need to do to make sure that we are able to meet our expectations? Agreements. Welcome. If you're just joining us, this is Rise Up For You TV. I'm Lauren Sweeney, and I'm excited to be here live on Instagram and on LinkedIn. So as we set up in our communication, setting up clear agreements is next. What does that look like? Well, you could ask the group. If you were speaking to a group of individuals at work, maybe it's a board that you sit on, maybe it's a speaking event you're doing. When you set up clear agreements, it looks like, I agree to arrive on time. You agree to have your video on and not be driving. What are other things we need to agree on so that we both meet our expectations for today's meeting? That is a way to build healthy communication. Now we aren't in the question of being misaligned. So that's next. All right. Step number 3, create and develop a plan, a timeline, and action steps. So out of each meeting, we want to have a plan, we want to have a timeline, and action steps. I know today there's a lot of AI tools that might summarize your meeting. That is a great way to summarize your action steps, perhaps. But you always want to follow up. Just like you want to go into your communication, setting up the expectation, you want to end the communication, setting up a clear timeline and action steps and next steps. You might be watching this and you're in business development. This is a key for business development, is setting up, when are we going to talk next? What would make the most sense? Would it make sense that I follow up with you in 2 weeks? That's important. And lastly, we need to summarize key points. Again, you can do this with AI, or you can just do this by checking in. I want to just check in with you. Were we able to meet our expectations? So reviewing at the end. For example, if we go out and we do team training with organizations around the world, at the end of the team training, we always do a survey right there on the spot. What did you like about today? Were the expectations clear? Did we meet your expectations? Is there anything you would want to do differently? When you check in at the end, everybody feels like the meeting was worthwhile. So let's review. It's very important that first we set up for the meeting. We care enough preparing for whatever type of conversation you're about to have, even if it's in your personal life, can go a long way. When we prepare, then we are able to be ready, to be present, to be less triggered. Next, we talked about defining the purpose of the meeting, giving the parameters for the communication and what you're going to be doing. For example, let's say that you were managing up to your supervisor. You prepared, you prepped the meeting, you wrote down the things you wanted to talk about. Some of them maybe were a little difficult. I like to call them high courage conversations. And no matter what it was that you wanted to be doing, you set it up on the front end and you let the person that you're talking to, in this case, maybe your direct supervisor, know. I would appreciate if you just listened, maybe took notes, and then we could talk afterwards if that was okay with you. When you set things up on the front end, it goes a long way. Next, we talked about establishing clear expectations and agreements. What does the audience hope to achieve? Again, this audience could be the board, your supervisor, your direct reports, clients, maybe a significant other, whoever you are having the conversation with. Next, we talked about developing a plan, a timeline, and action steps so that you can have the most effective communication. And lastly, wrapping up, checking in. How did this conversation feel for you? What could we do differently, if anything, next time? Well, my friends, I hope that you take these communication tools and you use them and you have conscious conversation, because the new rules of communication show that AI will never be able to replace what? Our critical thinking skills. AI is not going to be able to replace our ability to have emotion, to care, to show incredible levels of empathy. One of the clients I'm working with, I'm helping her give a speech. And in it, she tells a very personal story. And we went from crafting it to be something that was maybe a little bit more arduous to something that is really heartfelt. And it's been an amazing process, because when you're able to communicate yourself, it goes so far to creating connectivity, productivity, and influence. This has been an amazing time. I'm Lauren with Rise Up For You TV. If you want more information, please head over to riseupforyou.com. Book an informative call with our team today. We would love to support you. If you have questions, you can DM us on Instagram, message us on LinkedIn, or again, go to riseupforyou.com and book an informative call today. Our team would love to support you. I hope that your communication is very successful. We'll see you soon.